Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Monday Night Live here at Recovery 2.0. My name is Tommy Rosen, and as always, it is an honor and a delight to sit shoulder to shoulder with each of you as we walk our path of discovery in recovery together. It's another day here, and this happens to be Earth Day, a day where we celebrate our connection to this planet. And what an incredible thing, because it plays directly into our discussion this evening. Tonight's topic is 5 little nuggets, 5 hints, 5 lessons that lead to thriving in recovery. Tip number 1 for thriving in recovery: learn breath work, learn the breath practices. Use the breath. Use the breath to build vitality. Use the breath to build immunity. Use the breath to build lung capacity. Use the breath to enter meditative states. Use the breath to break the pattern of your normal breath pattern and your normal thought pattern. Really, to break the pattern, to break out of the pattern that you've been in, you can turn to the breath. Use the breath to emotionally regulate. Use the breath for specific purposes, like this one here was to balance the endocrine system. Somebody in our community is asking, why do we focus at the third eye point? There are many, many answers to that question. One answer for this particular meditation is where the eyes go, the energy will flow. So as we close our eyes and we focus here, we draw the eyes ever so slightly upward. And so we're gathering energy, we're drawing energy, prana, if you will, to this point. This point here is the 6th energy center of the body, which corresponds with the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is the master gland of the endocrine system. And so we're drawing energy up to the front of the brain, to this glandular area, and we're bringing our endocrine system into balance. Hopefully you feel that. What I feel, and obviously I want you to check in with your own experience, what I feel is actually in the front of my head, I actually feel there's energy there. There's a shift that's taken place here. I feel calm and present. Very lovely. We went for 11 minutes, you guys. We did 11 minutes of that particular breath practice. And soon you're going to be hearing about a practice we're going to do together. Hopefully you'll join me. It's called the 11. And for 11 days, we're going to do 11 breaths, 1 per day, for 11 minutes. And so we're going to do this thing called the 11 together, and you'll be hearing about it, but it's a wonderful thing. So powerful tips for thriving in recovery. Number 1, dig into the breath. Start to really get in there. It gives so much. It does so much physically, medically. It's good for you. It builds, health and vitality and wellness. Spiritually, it helps us to see more clearly. It helps us to access and to begin to develop a relationship with the unseen aspects of life. And of course, it brings us into connection with ourselves. So before I move on to the second tip, everybody got that one? I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Does this make sense? Was this a nice experience for you? Go ahead and let me know in the chat bar, and then we'll move on. Crystal clear. Okay. Beautiful. Okay. Looks like we're good. Sometimes expand the eyebrows. Sometimes there's a warm pulse there. Okay. Yeah. So Jody, when we're drawing the eyes up, be gentle. It's just more like an awareness here. We're resting our awareness here rather than like we're not crossing the eyes upward, which can create a little bit of a headache or a pressure. So it's really just more of a raising of the awareness to this area, if you will. Okay. Okay, very good. Number 2. Number 2 is, it has to do with community. So seek conscious community. Seek conscious community. And it's about, the theme is collaboration. theme is collaboration. So 1 is the breath, 2 is community, collaboration. So the way I want to sort of unpack this for you tonight, and what I'm really working with is to think about um, this idea of that Darwin put forth, which was survival of the fittest. So let me just speak a little bit about this. Survival of the fittest. Darwin was wrong. It isn't survival of the fittest. It's survival of the ability to collaborate. Survival of the most adaptable, those who could adapt into collaboration. Survival of community. If it's survival of the fittest, we set up a world which is by definition then limited. Resources are limited, and everyone has to fight for those limited resources. It pits us against each other. We're always going to have to try to be stronger, better, looking for more. And since we live in this universe of limited resources, from this perspective of survival of the fittest, there's never enough. It's a perfect setup for stress, anxiety, and addiction. So Darwin was wrong. It really isn't survival of the fittest, but you could choose to adopt that way of seeing things. And if you do, now you're living in a world of competition. If you were raised like me to be good at sports, for example, to be, play baseball, play basketball, play soccer, play football, whatever everything is, the idea is to compete. I want to compete and I want to win. And that's sort of like a laboratory, like sports, the playing field is like a laboratory for winning, trying to win, you know. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be great at something or wanting to perform well. But the energy of competition leads us into, again, in my opinion, stress and anxiety. Now there's, a billion people in the world that are going to completely disagree with what I'm saying. And everybody's welcome to their opinion. For our purposes tonight, the strength is in numbers. The strength is in collaboration. The strength is in conscious community. When you get onto the yoga mat, I noticed right away that competition isn't serving me here. That competition and my competitive ways are getting in the way of me attaining the state of yoga, which is to say the state of oneness, the state of union and togetherness, the place where everything connects. My competition is getting in the way of my presence because I'm competing. I'm trying to be something. I'm trying to be somewhere, trying to do something, trying to achieve a posture that is getting in the way of me being in my body today, in full presence. Now, some of us have more bendy bodies than others, and you can get into certain postures that other people can't get into. But so what? What's the point? The point is presence, togetherness, oneness, connection, love, compassion. I used to ask Guru Prem if he would teach me how to do a handstand. When I first asked him that, he said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, it looks fun. It looks like it'd be fun to do." He's like, "Yeah, but why?" I was like, "Well, I think I could do that." He's like, "Well, yeah, okay, but once you do that, then what?" And it kept going on, going on, going on. And I'm like, "Guru Prem, what are you getting at here?" He's like, "There's only 2 reasons to do this posture. One is for the pure joy of it, pure joy. That's like joy in a connection with God, with spirit. The other is to inspire someone onto a mat so that they can work to loosen up their body and become more healthy and become more present. In a world of competition, there are limited resources. In a world of collaboration, there are unlimited resources. Some of you scientifically minded people are saying, what are you talking about, Tommy? How can there be unlimited resources? Because I'm speaking about perspective. I'm not speaking about, we live in a finite universe, but we also live in an infinite universe. How do you want to see it? We have enough food on the planet Earth to feed everybody on the planet Earth, but not in a world of competition. We don't. We can't figure out our problems partially because we're in a mode of competing. So collaboration in recovery, like all of a sudden we get onto the yoga mat in a metaphoric sense in recovery. And our competition, can you imagine trying to be better than somebody at sobriety? I'm better than you. I want to be better than you. I want to have more than you. I want to be more seen than you. My insecurity, I want to work out my insecurity by being more recognized and more, than you. No. It seems absurd even to discuss it or put it out there. I live in a universe of infinite possibility, infinite abundance, infinite resources. Don't think of it linearly. Don't think of it in terms of mathematics. Think of it more in terms of the unfolding of what's possible before you. In a world of collaboration, there's connection, there's humility, there's asking for help. There's a common desire for everybody to succeed together. It doesn't mean, there have been so many arguments over the years about competition. Without competition, how can we have a strong society? Well, your society can be based on the motivation of connection and love just as powerfully as it can be based on the concept of competition. So tonight, I'd like you to consider these things. I'd like you to consider that ours is a community, for example, where, and I've said it 100 billion times, and I'm going to keep saying it, everybody in this room wants everybody else in the room to succeed. If one person here succeeds, but everyone else is having a really hard time, is that a successful community? No. Is that a successful universe? No. What's wrong with that picture? Somehow, everybody should be buoyed to the point of the highest person in the community because everybody has the same desire to support each other along their evolutionary path. It is the opposite of competition. So when I get on my yoga mat and I'm starting to, come present with me meaning this physical body, the thoughts in my mind are starting to, let's calm down, Tommy. Let's come to the breath. Start paying attention to the breath. I'm inhaling in and out through the nose, long, deep breath, ujjayi breath, let's say. And when I attain that breath in yoga, no longer am I competing. Now I'm in an interesting collaboration. Yes, I'm alone on the mat, but I'm in collaboration with breath, meaning spirit, and I'm in collaboration with the body. I'm in collaboration with the teachers and the teachings because that's where I learned certain breath and certain postures from. As I come into a posture, I'm not thinking about the perfection of the posture as much as I'm thinking about the feeling of attaining the posture in this body and watching for the thoughts that come up as I'm moving along this path of yoga. Something's being revealed to me in each posture. And so there's this very interesting sort of contemplation and watching that goes on in the practice. Now, in a playful way, I do want to learn a handstand, or I do want to come into, warrior pose, or I do want to feel freedom in this body, but I don't want to feel freedom in the body and show that to you so you feel less free. I want to feel freedom in the body and stand as an example of freedom and hopefully inspire you so you can also be free in your body. And when we're talking about body in this sense, we're talking about mind, body, system. We want to be free. We all want that. And isn't it wonderful that we could all go there and nothing is lost unless we choose to live in a world of competition? And then we need to be better then. And our yoga becomes something other than yoga. And our pursuits become always about more, better, different. And it's an addictive mindset unto itself. So I want to say, with regards to community, let's think about community and let's watch our own behavior in our judgmental nature, or our condemning or canceling another person. We can learn from each other's wisdom, and we can learn from each other's mistakes. But to see somebody make a mistake, even a painful one, and have them hard and feathered in front of others doesn't seem to serve in any way, shape, or form. So we're working at moving into a frequency that's beyond competition, but that's very much about being all that we could be. It just happens to be that we're not competing with each other. We're collaborating with each other. And it would be really, really wonderful if all of us, enjoyed the next breath together. So that's number 2. Number 3. So we started with breath. We moved to community and collaboration. We spoke about moving from competition to collaboration. Number 3 is, we'll stay on the philosophical tip right now. Number 3 is take responsibility. So responsibility. So breath, community, responsibility. Now, responsibility means a few different things here in the context of, hints leading to a powerful thrive and recovery kind of existence. We recognize, all of us, we recognize that we can't be resentful, angry, bitter, sad, have those feelings linger with us and have a great life. So we all recognize that. And so we must find ways that we can move beyond our resentment, move beyond our anger, move beyond our bitterness, our sadness. And to an extent, all of those emotions, those challenging experiences, are related to experiences that have taken place in the past. So this concept of, responsibility has a lot to do with seeing our role in things and understanding that while other people may have mistreated us, or we may have perceived that other people have mistreated us, we have to perceive that now, today, even though these things may have taken place, we have to be in a position of responsibility for our life today. It doesn't negate that difficult things have maybe taken place for some of us. But we want to step into this present moment now. We want to be here in a responsible place, meaning we really want to take responsibility. I want to be in a position of responsibility. That is to say, sovereignty in my life. If I am blaming and complaining, those are the 2 behaviors. If I am blaming and complaining, I am not taking responsibility. generally speaking. I'm not taking responsibility for my life today. I am blaming the feeling that I have, the perception that I have on someone else, probably something that someone else did before, sometime in the past. And so I'm not in a position of responsibility, and I can't really thrive today if I'm in this place. Like it's a completely disempowered reality. I've decided to blame this person, this thing, this trauma, this unfortunate circumstance, and that should explain to you why I am unhappy today. Not good enough here. Not good enough. It doesn't work for us. So we want to move into this position of responsibility, because once we do, now we're moving into a position of sovereignty, power. In the Bible and some scripture, they call it dominion. Dominion meaning you have an ability to do something that can affect your circumstances. That is to say, you participate. So responsibility is about, there's a participatory role that each of us has in our life. And if we negate that, if we say we have no free will, or we don't need to show up, or the way we feel is someone else's fault, or the way our life is going is someone else's fault, we really are going to have a very difficult time moving into a position of dominion, sovereignty, agency, and personal power. And I mean the word power in the best sense of that word. Best sense of that word. So responsibility also, I use those two words, blame and complaint, a lot in the teachings that come through. And responsibility really is the end of blaming and complaining. Now, it doesn't mean we're never going to blame or complain ever again in our life. We're humans, and we're not, we're in the situation. And I catch myself blaming and complaining still, at least internally, every now and then externally. And the thing that I have to do is I have to catch myself, and I have to say, oh, you're blaming and complaining, Tommy. What is it about? What's bothering you? How can you move into a position of greater power? What action can you take? What do you need to do in order to stop, first of all, blaming and complaining, and to move into a full sense of responsibility? Responsibility also has to do with the present moment. In this case, I'm speaking about being responsible to the thing that's emerging moment to moment. Sometimes we speak about being of service. Service meaning being of service to the need of the moment. Ultimately, that's the service I think that the sages were speaking about. We want to be in service to the need of the moment, whatever that is, and be flexible enough, available enough to be able to adjust and to see, to be aware enough to see what the need of the moment is, and then to address it responsibly. So I think responsibility also has to do with developing a certain sense of presence. Then if we break up the word responsible into two words, response and ability, it also hits on that point of serving the present moment. We have developed an ability to respond skillfully, wisely to the moment, to what's needed now. So we're really working with this responsibility in terms of stepping into personal power. We're also wanting to become more skillful as we move forward in our lives. So super simple, super clear. So pause a moment with me. There's also this questioning that we can do around responsibility of sphere of influence. What is our sphere of influence? In other words, what are we responsible for and what are we not? Where can we lend a hand, and where might we be stretching or overextending ourselves in an inappropriate way? And if we find ourselves doing that, asking ourselves the important question, why am I doing this? What is driving me here? Coming into greater awareness, greater and greater presence once again, that connection between the word responsibility and presence. So that's number 3, breath, community, responsibility. Number 4. Okay. This is, so we'll go here first. So sadhana practice, sadhana, spiritual practice. I'll step back from that. So we'll say number 4 is spirituality. We won't say sadhana. We'll go bigger than that. We'll step back from the practice itself, a morning practice or whatever your practice is. We'll say spirituality, number 4. Yeah, very important. So fourth tip for thriving in recovery, spirituality is key. I won't say it's the key, but it's one of the keys, and it's one of the most important keys. And because we're talking about a realm now of spirit, it's not something that we can necessarily see. It's more subtle. And so we're working at developing a relationship. We're leaning into our spirituality. Now, I think you're all aware of the fact that the Recovery 2.0 Life Beyond Addiction Conference is coming up May the 8th through the 12th. I'm really hoping that all of you are registered. It's free to attend, and that you will attend at least one talk each day. You'll block out the time. I'll tell you, it's so important. And the ideas that are coming from these extraordinary teachers and speakers and leaders and writers and thinkers and sages, and it's really special. One of the most important themes, as you'll see, coming out of these conversations is that we are now seeing that even the scientists, looking through the lens of science, we are seeing the critical importance of leaning in to our spiritual life. It affects our longevity. It affects our health. It is a buffer against SAD, SAD, stress, anxiety, and depression. It is a buffer against relapse. It is a thing that leads us into a greater purposefulness in this life, a greater joy. It helps us to connect with something called awe and wonder and true love, and to truly be in love. So science is confirming what, of course, we may intuitively have known, and what yogis certainly have known, that the spiritual aspect and nature of our being is not to be overlooked, but it's to be embraced and leaned into. And of course, we see this in 12-step recovery. We see this in 12-step recovery. We see this in spiritual paths. We see this in religious paths. This opportunity, this invitation, practices, principles, rituals, and ceremony around relating to that unseen aspect of our being. It's so critically important, and just so important. It just can't be overstated. So, obviously in our society, I'm speaking generally, of course, we're more sort of physically oriented. We're more externally focused. In the realm of going back to responsibility, in the realm of responsibility, many times we feel disempowered to do anything about much of anything. And of course, we're supremely powerful beings when we align with the powers that be and we become responsible, dig into our spirituality, use our breathwork practices, and be in community with others who are walking down that path. I hope this is beginning to build a tapestry of meaning for you. Like, wow, this is starting to make some sense for you as we go forward in this discussion. So spirituality is really important. And then within that, sadhana practice, we're still on number 4. As part of spirituality, sadhana practice is so key. Sadhana, we're going to look at sadhana, the word, as orientation a practice that orients us to spirit, practice that orients us to spirit, or orients us to our highest self. Again, spirit orients us to God, spirit orients us to higher power, spirit. So any practice that we take on a daily basis, preferably, that orients us to spirit so that we can be anchored and rooted in that place, and then we can go out from there. One of the most beautiful, beautiful teachings, which comes out of the Indian tradition, which is found in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the great spiritual texts of our human history, says Krishna, God in the form of Krishna, comes and is counseling Arjuna, who is a human being, a warrior who really represents all of us. And so Krishna comes to counsel Arjuna in his moment of doubt and his challenge. And one of the great teachings that comes from that discussion between Krishna and Arjuna is that Krishna says to Arjuna, establish yourself in yoga and then act from there. So he says, Arjuna, establish yourself in yoga and then take your action. So each day we do a sadhana practice, even if it's 3 minutes of breath and sitting for 2 or 3 minutes, just to be calm enough to root into the existence of the spiritual aspect of ourself, which is connected to the infinite spirit that's through us and around us everywhere, all the time. That practice unlocks so much potential, so much possibility. And it really keeps us oriented and leaning into that spiritual aspect of our nature so it doesn't go neglected. Let's say it helps us to remember the most important aspects, the most important aspects of our life. Now, of course, I could speak for the next hour on spirituality alone. We all could. But I think for now, that's good that you understand what I mean when I say we have to start or continue to develop this relationship and work on it on a daily basis and be rooted there and operate from that connection to spirit. Operate from what Krishna said to Arjuna, from being established in yoga, in union, in oneness, in togetherness. Okay. And then finally, we have to speak about this concept of service in greater terms. So I mentioned earlier that service is, in the broadest sense of that term, so this is number 5, is being of service, the attitude of service. So serving the need of the moment is being in that general, okay, I'm showing up in the world and I'll show up. Let's say I'll do what's asked of me. I'm going to work to become more aware so I can see what's being asked of me. I'm going to work to not be too caught in my ego. I need my ego to be here in this body, but I want it to be checked and I want it to be measured, and I want to be able to see beyond it so I can be in it, but also beyond it. And so we're not about destroying the ego here. It's more about how can we work with it. So to serve is to be able to see clearly into the need of the moment. I believe that it requires a meditative practice. Meditation and establishing oneself in meditation, to me, is part of service. And so I guess we could say, if I were writing this out on a like an ebook, if we're going to make an ebook of the 5 tips, the 5th one would be meditate and serve. And so what we're doing is we're becoming responsible in the deepest level. And please, if you hear nothing else tonight but this, just hear this right now. You're becoming responsible because you are hip to the understanding that you're creating with your thoughts, your words, and your actions. You are creating. You are creating with your thoughts, words, and actions. And so, because you really understand that, it becomes a personal responsibility to have better thoughts, better words, better actions, to be moving towards equanimity, to be moving towards calmness, love, connection, wisdom, joy, playfulness, lightheartedness, all of these things. We meditate to develop focus, concentration, intuition, and to have a mind that can see more clearly. We're building awareness and consciousness. We meditate, and then we can serve. Again, you are going to serve in the way that is right for you, given all of the inputs of your life, your body, your mind, your history, your genes, your epigenetics, all your family, all the stories, all the food you eat, the people you hang out with. You'll serve from that place. What we're working together on as a community, we're working on elevating each other so that we can serve from this elevated place. It's part of the reason we began today with that that breath practice. So we meditate and serve the need of the moment as each of us can. Um, you know, I would ask you sincerely, ask yourself internally. Maybe you can write this in the chat bar, but be honest, if someone from our community called you on the phone and they said, and you picked up and you said, hey, this is, it's John from Recovery 2.0. I know you're in Recovery 2.0, and I wanted to reach out because I'm having a really tough moment. And I was wondering if you could take a minute. Could I talk to you and could we, connect? Even if you didn't know this person, would you show up and serve the need of that moment and say, yes, I'll talk to you? Or would you blow this person off because you thought, well, this is weird. I don't want to be reached out to in this way. You understand, like our understanding is that's the universe. Now, you might be in the middle of something incredibly important and you could say, John, this is important to me. I want to get back to you. Give me your number, please, and I'll get back. But it's like, that's what I mean. Like you would show up how the universe shows up to you, and the universe is going to show up to you as you are. So you are creating with your thoughts and your words and your actions. And because you know that, it becomes a personal responsibility to meditate. And that puts you in a position to be able to serve. When you serve, you are fulfilled. You are uplifted. You don't have to serve like Mother Teresa because you're not Mother Teresa. You have to serve like you. I have to serve like me. And each of us has to get to know ourselves well enough to know what's in my sphere of influence, what's appropriate for me. I know this is going to come as a shock to you guys, but sometimes I overextend myself in the world. I know, you're shocked. I really knocked you on your butt right there. Well, sometimes I overextend myself in the world. So I recognize that because I get frustrated or I get tired or I get sick for a minute and it's like, oh, I need to pull back. Hang on a minute, Tommy, pull back. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. It's a learning thing each of us goes through. So what I mean is the reason I tell you about that is I'm aware that I need to serve in a way that's appropriate for me and also appropriate for this body, for my age and the time and the things that I'm pursuing in the world. You understand? So each of us has that job, but guess what? The meditative mind, the meditative practice makes us better and better and better at this. And of course, we're all going to make mistakes. We know that. And there's no surprise anymore. Hopefully we have forgiven ourselves before even the next mistake we're about to make, because we know that in our mistakes, that's our lesson plan and we're going to get further because of it. All right. So we had breath, community, responsibility. What am I forgetting? I didn't write them down. Help me out. Spirituality and meditate and serve. Okay. Those are 5 tips that can serve anyone who wants to move into a really powerful, wonderful, uplifted, joyful, life and recovery. And so I hope that was useful for you tonight on our beautiful Monday Night Live. Sincerely, you guys, these talks that I've been having with folks are blowing my mind, truly, more than ever, more than ever. So I really encourage and invite each of you to just go to the site. It's just lifebeyondaddiction.com and look. Just look at the people there, read the talk titles, and it's really special. And I can't wait for us all to take it all in, to take in these teachings from all these wonderful voices and perspectives, and it's just special. So, sending much love to each of you. Thank you for being here tonight. We had beautiful over 100 people. So nice to all to be together like this on a Monday. And yeah, so let's bring our palms together at the heart center, and we'll tune forward with the Recovery 2.0 prayer. Bring the palms together at the heart and allow the eyes to close gently. Take a deep inhale. Universe, put us in the places you want us to be, with the people you want us to be with, doing the things you want us to do. Thank you for the joys and challenges of our lives. Amen. Sat Nam and Namaste. All right, you guys. Thank you again so much. Blessings on this Monday. Love you so much, and we'll connect again really soon. Bye for now.